Hello and welcome to CHGO Red Stars, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Hey everybody, I'm Sandra Herrera, here today with my friend, homie, and colleague, Claire Watkins, aka Scam Originator, here to chat some CHGO Red Stars.
Yes, indeed. CHGO Red Stars.
It's been quite the week.
It
for
sure has.
CHGO Red Stars. I don't know if you've heard, but the CHGO Red Stars are undefeated in their last 9 games, and I'm trying to preach this gospel, quite frankly, everywhere I go, because I just don't think people are chatting about it enough.
Well, okay, maybe this is a good place to start because, you know, we were just chatting before we hopped on air just about, you know, it's been a long couple of weeks for us. This is the dog days of soccer coverage, which happens every couple of years, which is where you're covering international soccer and NWSL at the same time. Now, that's relatively unique because no other league really does this, where we're trying to stay on top of league stuff while all these other games are being played. So maybe, can I ask you, Sandra,
Please.
how much, and like be honest, how much bandwidth, because you're doing big coverage for CBS for both. You guys are the rights holders for CONCACAF and for NWSL. Has it felt like a struggle to like keep up with league stuff? Big league stuff this week, right? Like,
yeah, to an extent. This week in particular, because, and we'll chat a little bit about that because this also affects the Red Stars, but I mean, the league has been pushing out a lot of
news,
important information.
Yeah, kind of like they've been on a break, but they haven't been on a break. So it's like, this is break stuff, guys.
Yeah.
We're doing break stuff.
You're supposed to be breaking.
Yeah.
And you're not breaking at all.
Yeah.
Breaking 2 electric boogaloo is not.
That's right. They're breaking news, but.
You know, I'm like, come on now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm being honest, it's a lot of soccer. Does it feel like overwhelming? I don't know if I would say it would be like overwhelming, but sometimes there are days where the bandwidth feels like it's short-circuiting, for sure.
Sure.
But there's also this other side of the energy around all this, which is like, just I wish it just happened so far and few in between. It's like we have a real summer of soccer going on right now.
It's true.
And not only do we have a real summer of soccer going on right now, like you and I, we done grown up a little bit.
Right.
And you and I are like covering all of it in various spaces. So it's like there's this like short circuit at times. It's like at that end of the night where you're just like staring at the ceiling like, wow, I just watched 12 hours of soccer.
Right. And this is like, we're talking as media, but I have to think it feels similarly for fans.
Oh my
right?
God, it's so
like,
much.
Yeah. Like yesterday there were 8 games, right? Across 4 continents. Is that correct?
Yes.
There were the 2 Euros games, the 2 Copa America games, the 2 WAFCON games, and the 2 CONCACAF games. Yeah. That's 8 international games across the world. That's a lot.
Yeah. And I find myself being like, oh, did I watch enough, women's AFCON? Did I watch enough, like, Copa America Femenina? You know, did I watch enough? Like, there's also, like, that part of my brain, too, where I'm just like, I want to show everybody love.
Right.
And, be able to and talk about it and you know, experience all of it.
Yeah.
So there's also that for me as well. But I tell you what, I am keeping a real close eye on NWSL.
Yeah.
CHGO Red Stars.
I agree. Well, yeah, in Chicago as much as anything. I mean, it was kind of a funny weekend if we want to start getting into the nuts and bolts of last match weekend. We both went. We went to the game. Points-wise, it was a little bit of a weird weekend across the board, which is that standings didn't really change that much. It's great that Chicago saved the point in watching the game before kind of that furious comeback, which we'll talk about. I did have the thought where I was like, if you have to drop one, not a terrible one to drop.
Fine. Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of motion up and down the table, even though, you know, like San Diego lost and Chicago tied and Portland tied and the Reign tied, like just not quite enough to change things. In terms of the order, I mean, obviously, and we'll get to this, not a great weekend for Houston and not a great weekend for Washington, but it felt a little bit surreal maybe is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, we've got all this other stuff going on, and then here, right in front of me, we've got this whole other thing going on.
No, that was the energy. I love, I mean, we are like each other's, like, I wouldn't say life coaches, but we absolutely are like have tapped in to another, like need the pep talk. Right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And there was like absolutely a moment ahead of like North Carolina Courage.
Yeah.
We were just like, all right, let's do this. And we're like,
we're going together. We're going to go do it.
Let's do this. We're going to be there and we're going to go cover and support Chicago Red Stars. And yeah, I'm with you. Like watching it kind of unfold in front of us, it almost like matched the energy. It was like, you know what, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they've done a really good job of playing soccer and picking up results. And if today is an L, like quite frankly, that's fine.
But it wasn't.
But it wasn't
an L. It wasn't an L. So I think that this was a really important game actually for Chicago's season. I'm going back on what I said about. Well, no, I'm not going back on what I said about the results. But in terms of the game itself,
change your mind. It's okay.
No, I mean, if they had lost, I think it makes a difference that they tied it. Yeah, let's get in. We can get into the plot here, the XG race plot. So shout out to Ariel, you're the GOAT. And I think what we see here is a game that was mostly played in between the boxes, right? It was a pretty physical matchup. It was very intense. North Carolina came out looking in energy like we're used to seeing them. But as you can see, there were these long stretches where not a lot was happening. You look at like the beginning or the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, despite that one very good North Carolina chance that ended up in their second goal. But and then from there, North Carolina kind of flatlined. So these were teams that are obviously kind of in international mode, not at the highest of their powers, not with the most of their faculties as a team. But I haven't seen, at least in person, anything with quite the intensity that North Carolina came out with in this game. And it gave Chicago a lot of trouble early on. And so the fact that they were kind of able to work through that, I do think is really significant. And obviously they're happy to get out with a point, but I'm sure they're actually happy that they kind of got, decked in the first half and came back out and were like, no, we're not going to take that,
They got kind of snuffed in the forehead. Like, kind of said psych and like kind of smacked them and then like went off running. I mean, we were chatting about this all through the game, and I'd love to bring this in front for the listeners, but that was kind of the energy. I mean, we were watching two teams hitting a certain point of the season, and you've got the Red Stars who have been pretty much in the conversation of the upper half of the table, and you've got a North Carolina Courage team that have just struggled to get anything going.
Well,
in
struggled
the regular
to play
season.
Games. Good Lord.
After their Challenge Cup win, they just have not been able to put together, a strong showing in the regular season. Yeah, they've had some games postponed. They've had to deal with several bouts of COVID, apparently.
Well, yeah, I don't think them this time, but yes, they've had 2 games postponed for
they've
COVID
had
reasons,
a lot. They've had a lot of many thing happening to the team. So like that was the energy like that we were talking about in the press. Like we felt like we were witnessing. It's like, oh, okay. It's like they're in desperation mode right now.
Right.
While some teams are looking at the second half like, okay, let's make sure we continue to run this table, progress, and continue to put out good performances. And North Carolina is like, we got to get every single point that we can.
Yeah, and they also tactically, I think, had a really good game plan. The other part of Ariel's tweets is always the passing map, and that passing map, the North Carolina, we're used to them. We always talk about like box midfield, and they progress through the midfield, blah, 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 blah. They bypass the midfield entirely. If you look at their passing map, it's a circle around the midfield, and that it kind of negated Chicago's strength in numbers in the box, which it seemed hugely important. We saw the pressure put on Chicago's wing backs, which I think, Chicago has a reputation, earned or not, of not having the strongest outside back depth. But the Courage really attacked the wingers. They really made the wingers' life hard. And so that was where they were able to regain possession and move in transition and just high transition. Like, I think the first goal against ultimately began after a set piece that Chicago had at the other end of the field, and there was a little bit of a scrum and nothing comes of it, and then suddenly the ball's at the other end of the field and Chicago's in this transition, just total defensive breakdown. And so with the knowledge that they got a point out of it, you can look at that and be like, this will happen to them again in this league. And it's good that they got this experience now.
It's good that, that this group in particular got this experience. Because we've been chatting about it in generalities, like as we're covering so much soccer during this month. But the Red Stars aren't the only team that find themselves in this position where it's like, hey, we're missing a lot of key players. We're missing a lot of people. Like, so a lot of teams are finding themselves like this is the roster that we're working with, and this is who's going to go out and execute the game plan. So I'm with you in that it was a really important game ultimately for this team to go through an experience, but in particular, this personnel, like on the pitch. Like, even like if we just throw it back even a little bit more, if we're just talking about like the starting 11 that dropped for this team, like our reactions to that, like at one point I was like, oh, like it's straight up like wing back by committee right now in the month of July for the Red Stars.
Well, it was legitimately unclear looking at the lineup who exactly was playing forward or who was playing the wide midfield and who was playing those wing back roles, because these are all players that have done both or can do both. And they're still really kind of figuring it out.
They're going to continue to do that.
And again, it's like I've had this conversation actually with a couple different players. I spoke to Ava Cook about this actually in a preview for this weekend's game, and this was something that Amanda Kowalski also brought up after this game, which is just the speed of play and the physicality of play moving from college to NWSL is huge. And then you have like rest of NWSL, and then you have the North Carolina Courage. And so I think that this was truly something that many of them had not experienced before, or even in the case of Sarah Lubert, had not experienced in a long time. Or actually, I'm not sure Sarah Lubert really experienced. I mean, they played North Carolina once in the Challenge Cup in 2020. She got most of her playing time in the fall series. That was not North Carolina was not involved in that for Chicago. So, I think this was the first time a number of those players saw this particular thing, and they did struggle with it. I mean, they had some trouble. Not that they didn't get forward or couldn't connect plays or anything like that, but they were getting dispossessed a lot. They were getting pushed off the ball a lot. They're hitting the deck a lot. It was just kind of tough to watch. And so then when you get to like halftime and you're only down 1-0, which is actually very good.
Yeah, all things considered.
You think to yourself, okay, what is this game right now? Is this a game that North Carolina like firmly has in hand and Chicago's just keeping it close? Or is this a game where Chicago can actually reassert themselves and come back?
Yeah, it was again, it wasn't. I don't think it was the first half that the team anticipated or maybe expected it to go. You're preparing for a Courage team that, you know, they're going to be without Davinia. They're going to be without, you know, Carolina. Like, these are things that we talked about in the preview. Mm-hmm. But in that same preview, we were like, we're going to be paying attention to Abby Urseg. Mm-hmm. We hope she doesn't have a good game. Like, Carson Pickett, game. Like that back line. And that was the energy for me watching this Carolina team. They were the North Carolina Courage sort of defensive line was really carrying that that team through the first half. It was not a moment. I think if you're watching that,
well, Carson Pickett got the opening goal.
Yeah, she did. I think if you're watching that first half, Claire, you don't make a bet on the Red Stars to get a result. And maybe that's transition, baby. The best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. That's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free T-shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and free T-shirt from the CHGO Locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app right now and use promo code CHGO. What are you waiting for? Get out there, get your live bet on. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants to help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. Got to read it quickly.
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Protect your mental.
Second half
goes much better, actually.
We were chatting. Yeah. We were chatting in the press box, and we said a couple things. We said we'd like to see some adjustments.
Yes.
We'd like to see some immediate
halftime
subs.
I had one name
you threw
in
out
mind.
Aaron Wright.
I was like, this game desperately needs Aaron Wright.
Needs Aaron Wright. I was
Get
like,
her
I'd love
out
to see.
there. Yeah.
I'd love to see these rookies get out there. I was like,
Yep.
give me Cook or give me Griffith. Let me see what's going on.
Yep.
And we did eventually see their arrival into this game, but it came a little bit later, like closer to the hour
that was an
mark.
unfortunate second goal to give up, I will
Close-
say. And
yeah, closer to the hour
again,
mark.
when you saw that map, that XG map, it was a really good chance that they gave up, and it was surrounded by some actually pretty good defense from the Red Stars. And so, that was
Matthias served it
unfortunate.
up.
Yeah, and then I was like, oof, that can definitely kind of sap your belief, I think, going into the second half of the game.
Yeah, because I mean, you bring in these substitutions, and they're coming closer to the hour mark, and we start to see things turn a little bit. You know, Aaron Wright looking good, doing her thing. The rookies continuing to run after it, and it was one of these moments where it's like, okay, well, you know what's really good? It'll be really good if they close out this game like they're gonna take the L, but they're gonna close it out with momentum. And that's really good. And like that's kind of the energy where we were at.
I would say it felt like one goal was coming.
Like they were gonna find the breakthrough,
Right.
Yeah, at some point. But even if for whatever reason it didn't come to pass, it was like, okay, what a great
Learning
game
experience.
of lessons.
Yeah, right.
What a great game of lessons for this. And then similarly, as the Chicago Red Stars got slapped in the beginning of this game, they smacked us in the face with their performance, because all of a sudden, at the death, quite frankly, we get a couple of goals that make all the difference.
Yeah, so like Chicago has the momentum in the last half hour of the game. They're like, I do think that Aaron Wright pretty much immediately changed the tenor of the game. I think that she, again, just sort of imposing things on the outside. I think that there was just a certain level of veteran calm to what she brought. And I found that to be interesting, because we're so used. I mean, Chicago's doing an amazing thing, right? They're in a total rebuild, and they also haven't lost in 9 games, right? That's incredible. But then you do see a veteran like that make her return, and you go, oh, well, that's good too. You know. And it provides different looks. And I do think that it's really healthy to not have the young ones have to really sink or swim on their own. I actually kind of loved that feeling of like, you guys have done a nice job. We're going to bring a veteran on and see if she can change this game. And I really felt like, even though North Carolina, pretty much upon Wright's subbing on, they tried to push the play away from where she was, but you could already tell just in sort of getting her toe stuck in, giving support to Milazzo on the left side, just all of that sort of stuff. But they don't get a goal. Just the touches aren't quite right. They do nice stuff. This is another thing about having a young group. Finishing, a couple maybe nice looks that fell to a young player that put a little bit too much on it because they're trying to get back in the game.
You could see that first year decision making in play.
Right.
There was, again, I'm eager to sort of see what those particular players take out or took away from this game.
Yeah.
You know, Kowalski getting up there at the end for the equalizer, snatching the win, quite frankly.
Well, yeah,
I mean, courage. Chatting with her a little bit post game about it. She kept it real. I really appreciated that. You were like, hey, talk us through that goal. And she was like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the goal that was a great moment. Obviously, the Kowalski header was a great moment, and she is turning into, we talk about sort of the physical profiles of the defense, and her confidence at the back post maybe reminds you of a different player who used to play for the Red Stars a long time ago now. But I want to talk about the first goal, because the first goal was perfect. The first goal was perfect. So they're having trouble with their touches. The passes aren't quite right. The finishes aren't quite right. The first goal back is a 2-player extravaganza. Vanessa DiBernardo sends the perfect ball in to split the North Carolina defense. And then Sarah Griffith, it's kind of funny that it came from a chip, because they were having trouble keeping shots low. Like, that was the issue. But she perfectly weights that. I thought for a second it was going wide, and then I was going to be like, oh my God. But no, it was perfect. She chips the keeper, and that kind of a thing is like, it just shows the quality, and it shows that we've talked about this, about how the team has improved week over week. And so you're like, well, if they can do that, in the first 15 seconds of stoppage time against a North Carolina team that's been playing them really tough this whole game, that's going to even improve. That's going to get better. They can do that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the world of, I've said this before, of what Vanessa DiBernardo has done this season. And you talk about that, like, that's a really good example of a link up between a veteran and a rookie to get the job done. And we even saw glimpses of that. And I've said this before, but the quality that the Red Stars have when they're in their passing sequences and they're progressing the ball forward, there are moments in every game where I'm like, I haven't seen them do this since 2019. And it's really exciting. And so the fact that was rewarded with that goal was good to see. And again, that's where we were like, hooray.
Yeah, we're like, if
they got to the goal. Yes.
We're like, this feels correct.
This feels good. This feels right. And then, yeah, I mean, stoppage time goes a little bit long, admittedly.
Yeah.
It was weird, and it was hard to tell. I wish that I could have, like...
timed it.
I wish that I could remember it better in the stadium, because I don't think it felt as long in the stadium as it did on the stream. The stream didn't show everything. There was a really long stoppage in play between... the missed penalty, which I admit was a missed penalty. I do think that North Carolina should have.
Was, like, to touch on it in this game was questionable.
It was. And we've talked about this
watching
before.
the replay, we were like, oh, that was missed.
It was missed, and it's like, what can you do? It's something that if it had not gone Chicago's way, we would have felt hard done by. I think that North Carolina should feel hard done by that.
Absolutely.
But it was about 40 seconds between that missed chance and the replay, like the restart. I don't know. Also, I am a little bit just like, it was the last kick of the game. 99% of the time you don't score on that. And I felt bad for the Courage, but this is also indicative of their season. They do turn off sometimes. And them giving up 2 goals in the span of 4 minutes is not unheard of for them this season. So it is a little bit just like...
I think it's just elevated or heightened by the fact that it's like occurring in stoppage time. And
right. I mean, it was very exciting. Can't lie to you.
Oh, yeah. It was quite the finish. I think if you're a neutral watching a game like this, you're like, wow, what a game, what a finish. But that's a point for the Red Stars.
It is a point for the Red Stars, yeah. And it was a real whirlwind. Yeah, definitely. Courtney says scam gang. This was some real scam gang energy.
This was absolutely... scam gang
and there's I mean, we say that there's always a little bit of scam gang in the Chicago Red Stars energy, but I think we're seeing that as much as ever this season, because as you know, I think this is something that John said in the chat at the top of the show, which is that, you know, Chicago is I mean, we talked about this last week. They're by nature of where they sit in the table, they're a Shield contender. We're halfway through the season and they're in second, you know.
We started the show, so we got to talk about the Red Stars, who are undefeated in 9 games. I think we're getting to the point where we have to be speaking about that quite loudly. Yeah. And we will talk about the game that's, you know, they're going to have ahead of them here against Houston.
Well, before
we're doing that, we're just like, you know, they're in second, and they're on an incredible run right now.
Would you say that if you're on a 9-game unbeaten streak, it's probably because you're like pretty consistent and like fueled up? Right?
Oh yeah, the energy.
Like you can't go 9 games unbeaten if you're like hungry, you would think, right?
I would agree.
I would agree with that. I think that you have to be, whatever they're doing with it, whatever they're eating that morning, it's working. And you can be just like them with OWYN.
That's right.
Which stands for only what you need.
Acronym.
OWYN is a 100% plant-based protein shake that gives you nutrition that works as hard as you do. All of their products are free of artificial ingredients, allergen-friendly, no gluten or dairy, easily digestible. Protein shakes, I wish I had them during this stretch. We were talking about how we could use a little bit of a boost. It's nice to have that kind of stuff. I'm sure that we talk about the raising standards in the league. I'm sure they have something like that, something like OWYN, which stands for only what you need. And OWYN and CHGO have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. You can get 20% off your first purchase at liveowyn.com. That's LIVEOWYN.com with the code CHGO20. Check it out. I would love reviews. I would love it if anybody wanted to check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
Taste.
We want to hear from the people.
Yeah.
If you get Owen and you
whether
try
it's
out
filling, all that kind of stuff. Because right now I'm living on seltzer and coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And it does not feel good. Yep. So
love a good saltine sometimes. Right now it's definitely sustaining us.
How about yogurt,
Yeah. Good plain. I'm not even going to lie. It's been pretty plain. Plain yogurt. It's
rough stuff.
Good times. You know who else is having a real good time right now? The United States Women's National Team.
Yeah.
Which feature Alyssa Naeher and Mallory Pugh. The United States going to the World Cup, and they are going to the CONCACAF Championship Final.
That's right.
Where they will meet up with BSG and Canada. Bianca St-Georges is also going to be participating in the CONCACAF W Championship Final. It's what everybody assumed was going to be on paper.
Yep.
Ultimately, in the end, and here we are. There is a spot on the line in the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris and the 2024 Women's Gold Cup. So, still some things at stake here. And if the U.S. find themselves on the losing side, they have to play the third place winner of this tournament at a later date for the second available CONCACAF Olympic slot. So, job's not done.
Okay. Next question for you, Sandra.
Oh boy.
I think it's great. I do think it's great that there are the stakes. Like, I think that CONCACAF did a nice job when you have a region where you have two teams that are significantly better than the other teams. It's a little bit of like a poke at them to be like, you don't get everything, you know, you don't get to just have fun in this game.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's a little bit, but it feels a little like nasty, right? It's like a little bit of a nasty, like, you two, one of you has to wait. This is actually a really good question. We are going to talk about this, about the goalkeeping situation
We're actually
with the
segue
U.S.
right
Good
now.
seg. But fair is the wrong word, but it is kind of funny, I think.
It is funny.
That you have two teams that ultimately, even if they lose this game, are expected to ultimately qualify for the Olympics. One of them has to wait until after the 2023 World Cup, though.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a zinger, right?
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
To wait. So the question is, do I like this?
Yeah.
Okay. The question is, do I like this? And I will say parts of it.
Yeah.
I do like parts of this.
Yeah.
I do like that there are added stakes in
to this game,
this championship final, other than just bragging rights,
right,
which quite frankly have belonged to the United States forever.
Right.
I mean, they entered this tournament with several CONCACAF titles under their 8-time winners.
Canada's never beaten the
They're
U.S. in this
winners.
competition. Yeah.
They're back-to-back winners of this tournament.
Yeah.
So I do like that there are stakes added into it.
Yeah.
I will miss the Olympic qualifiers where we got to see,
a larger pool.
amount of teams participating. But the restructuring of things also is going to be introducing the Gold Cup.
Right.
As its own sort of entity. And for that, I am excited. And I know we will get the opportunity to still see CONCACAF region, like nations, be able to participate, in another competitive fixture. So, yes, I would say in general, yes, I do like this. I know there's part of my brain that will miss the way it was done, but I mean, I think change is good, and I'm looking forward to sort of seeing how this all plays out. Now, we're gonna answer Tom's question.
Yeah, we should.
We're gonna segue to that because something that's been happening in this tournament. We finally saw Mal Pugh get a goal for the United States Women's National Team. She scored in the semifinal against Costa Rica.
Yep.
She has been pretty active for this team, starting in a couple games and being part of that front line, but hadn't found the breakthrough quite yet, and finally got a goal. And Alyssa Naeher has started one game during this CONCACAF tournament. And Black Olekhanowski has been asked about it, and his coach, he's just like, we got to get Casey Murphy reps, and we got to get it in a tournament like this. We learned a pretty hard lesson in the Olympics with Alyssa Naeher going out, and part of his rationale is to get her some time. So I wonder if we will actually see her in the CONCACAF championship final against Canada.
Yeah.
A little bit of a rematch of that Olympic game where she went out of.
It's a good question. I struggle with it because I think the answer is that I don't know. The question is, like, has Naeher lost the number one spot, I guess is the question. And I think there's a number of things at play. One of those things is that Alyssa Naeher is 34. And for Andonovski, part of his job, truly his job, has been to get the next team ready to go. And some of that, as we've seen with other players, has been putting younger players in despite older players not necessarily doing anything to result in getting dropped, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like a little bit like, if this is the switch, I think that's something that you have to accept in the nature of what comes next. Yeah. However, I do not think that this necessarily means that, nor do I think probably in this moment that Mercy. Oh my God.
12 hours of soccer.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
do
right.
it.
That Murphy is well, she's certainly not outplaying Naeher or actually Kingsbury in the league right now. And I thought she looked really nervous against Costa Rica, which surprised me. Yeah. But that's also maybe the point, which is if you're not going, I mean, and I also don't understand why AD Franch is not still in the current picture. I don't know. Yep. But if you are going with, like, we have this keeper with a lot of experience and a keeper with not a lot of experience at all, like a lot of things with the U.S., it's kind of a made up problem, but yeah, they're giving her a lot of time. And so I do think it'll be really interesting to see who plays Canada. The fact that Murphy played the last 2 matches makes me think maybe we do see Naeher against Canada. But I mean, I think I do get it. And I think that we've seen a lot of that this tournament, which is this team not looking perfect and looking a little nervous or a little bit like overheated or like they're not always making the right decisions. But my take on it is that is kind of the point. And the goal is in a year to have the deepest team in the world. And I think that you have to be okay with what some of those processes are, including Naeher having to sit a couple games.
I also think a very important angle to sort of put in this is that Alyssa Naeher has been here before in Casey Murphy's position.
Yeah.
Right. I think.
Yeah.
Because
this is part of trying to do better than that.
Yeah. So I think Alyssa Naeher is the perfect number 1 goalkeeper for the United States women's national team right now, and that she understands what it is to be part of this sort of kind of limited, very special group of goalkeepers, the goalkeeper pool of the United States women's national team, which quite frankly kind of rotates a lot more than I think any other positional area on the pitch. I mean, we've seen a number of goalkeepers get into camps over the last maybe cycle and a half, let's say, that have been different, from depending on the month or the cap that we go back and take a look at. So I would say that if the World Cup started next month, Alyssa Naeher is your number 1, is healthy, and it's evident that Casey Murphy is your very close, like, number 2,
it's
like
also
1.5.
I think with goalkeeper evaluation, it's also a tough situation because you need to constantly be evaluating and pushing the players to get better. But if they don't feel like you have faith in them, then that also stunts that. So it is a complicated thing. And this is also sometimes why we do see teams maybe stick with certain goalkeepers. I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, but you have to tell a keeper that you believe in them. Yeah. But you also need to push them towards making fewer mistakes or feeling less nervous or anything like that. And so I think that it's a mix. And yeah, I mean, I think we saw Naeher over years get called into camp after camp after camp after camp and get no game time. Yeah. And so I would say it's almost a little bit unfair to her to even freak out about this. Because I don't think she probably is, I really don't. I think the energy is completely different than probably what we've seen out of U.S. camps at that position. Yeah. But like if we were playing the World Cup final tomorrow, which we're not, Alyssa Naeher.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's just sort of you could just sort of tell that this is how this coaching staff is operating at the moment. Yeah. And we'll see what happens in the final. But I think I'm not worried about Alyssa Naeher's capabilities to be the number 1 U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper. But it's been interesting to see how everything has played out in this tournament. So congratulations to the U.S. Women's National Team. Reaching a spot in the World Cup.
Wait. Are you ready?
What?
So you might even say that what the U.S. Women's National Team is doing is healthy.
In what way?
Like emotionally, mentally, it's a healthy thing to do to get different players time. And the whole point is that the team is an organism that will be at its peak. It may be not healthy right now. It's like couch to marathon, right? It's like we're in the process of getting ready for the long haul. It's a healthy thing to do. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that.
It's almost like they're taking the same energy as we do with athletic greens. Athletic greens.
Let's push it.
Yeah. So
I'm like, let's push it. Athletic greens.
It's lifestyle friendly athletic greens, whether you are keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. It is let's see. Here we go. I'm looking at it. All right. Better for gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. If you don't want to take pills or vitamins and you want a supplement that actually tastes great, Athletic Greens is the way to go. This is me looking at my thing. It costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit or your McBrew pod habit. It has over 7,000 5-star ratings. It's recommended by professional athletes. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/ and I think this is right. We'll see. CHGO Red Stars. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/ CHGO Red Stars to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Stay fit.
Healthy.
Stay healthy.
That's right.
Athletic Greens.
Yeah.
You know who we're really excited about.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're trying our best here. We appreciate it. Yes, please clap for our ad reads.
A for effort. I thought that was a good one.
Yeah.
Fine.
Thank you.
We're always like the U.S. women's national team, always striving to be better. Can always improve.
We have a little rotation sometimes ourselves with these ads.
Yeah.
And we have to adjust.
That's right.
Appropriately. And I think we do a pretty, gosh darn, good job.
Yeah.
You know who else is doing a really great job? Casey Kruger.
Oh, yeah. We do want to just real quick shout out before we start previewing Houston. Casey Kruger had her baby boy, Caleb.
Shout out to
sweet.
Caleb John Kruger.
That's right.
Little CJ.
I'm also
CJ
just
Kruger.
a little bit just like always like, the passage of time. It feels like just yesterday she announced her pregnancy and now she has a baby and it's so very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats to the entire
Kruger
family. The extended Red Stars family. I know everyone's really excited.
Can't
Casey
wait to see Caleb at games.
Yeah, gonna see little Kruger jersey. Love that.
Yeah.
Because we're transitioning to talk about this final game and maybe give the pick ahead of previewing Houston. Because it's going to be another game where multiple players are out. So that includes players who are on maternity leave, like Casey Kruger, Sarah Waldmo, and Khalil Watt, amongst others. And the players who are unavailable on international duty. So like Naeher and Pugh and BSG. But on the road.
This is the last one, though. Last weekend without at least the CONCACAF players.
Yeah, on the road in this one. But you know who Houston is getting back?
Yes.
Maria Sanchez.
Yes. So Maria Sanchez is going to be, we got confirmation from Houston's social media that Maria Sanchez, after Mexico, unfortunately did not make it to the semifinals or final round of CONCACAF W. Maria Sanchez is back. And it was interesting because I talked to Chris Petroselli and Ava Cook yesterday. And basically they were just saying that like Houston's a huge unknown right now because they're missing a lot of people. I would assume Sanchez will be right back into the starting 11. They have a brand new coach. And so it's just kind of difficult to say. I think Chicago has the momentum right after the comeback against North Carolina, but Houston is probably in that way going to be a little bit more focused on the result. Houston hasn't been amazing at home this season.
Yeah, but you know what? I just
this might be
something
a
about when Chicago plays
kind of a game. Yeah,
when Chicago goes on the road to Houston too, these are moments where they have struggled playing in that facility. They whether it's the heat or whatever, it's oftentimes the game turns into like this weird kind of a grinders kind of match. So I'm curious. I mean, Maria Sanchez is a huge asset to have on the Houston Dash side of things. But, she also played every damn game for Mexico, and in light of so much underperforming going on with that team, she was a player that was constantly trying to deliver and elevate that team. So she was putting out a lot of effort in those games. So I'm curious if she goes, slots right back into that starting 11. Is she going to be on a minute restriction of some sort? I don't know. There's also a new player that she's going to get to possibly play with for the first time, and Ebony Salmon.
Yeah.
How is that going to look like? What's the dynamic going to be there? Like you said, with the new coach. So I think there's a lot of things on both sides of this game where you can make a case for either side. But I would love to see a dub, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it goes the way of a draw in some sort as two teams are figuring things out.
I think we've also seen teams, speaking of like workload and being tired and stuff like that, I think that we've seen from week one, maybe the best way to put it is week 1 of small rosters to week 2 of small rosters, now into week 3 of small rosters. We've seen teams get more and more fatigued. I think like week 1, everyone was like, we're okay. We're doing okay without our full roster size. And then week 2, you saw things start to, across the league, get a little bit more stretched, a little bit slower. We saw San Diego in particular, like really struggle with that. Week 3, I think it's going to be a lot of like, let's just get through it, and then we can be whole again. Oh, and then the one other thing that I did want to put in here, it's like not news because it's not news, but I got a little bit of an update on Morgan Gautrat as well yesterday, which it's more of the same, but a little bit better, I think. I fully asked her, like, can you please just explain what's going on? Because I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out why this has taken so long. Because at this point, they're hoping that she'll be back at some point in August. So she'll have missed 2/3 of the year, which is not what anyone expected after the end of last year. And so ultimately, I think it was just a strain in the wrong muscle for recovery. Essentially, it's a soleus strain, which that is a muscle on the back of your calf. It's right next to your Achilles. It's right next to your plantar fascia. It's something that you walk on every day.
Foot injuries are very tricky.
And basically, the reason why this has taken so long is not because as an injury, it takes that long to recover. It's that she thought she could come back, and then that wasn't true, and then thought she could come back, and then wasn't true. And so due to returning and setbacks, it's turned into this accumulative thing of many months not being able to play. Now, that was why they ultimately decided to shut her down. Now they are hopeful that this is the final recovery, that they are in the last one.
Like after they targeted it, this is the way to, this is the path forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so they're hoping for middle of August. Obviously, that would be really great for a playoff push to have her available. But yeah, I mean, no real news there. But
but it's important to know because I mean we eventually will get an availability report that drops, and maybe people will be a little less surprised by that. Also, I guess maybe some breaking injury news here. The Dash announcing that midfielder Makame Gomera-Stevens is out for the remainder of the season.
Yes, I saw her.
Ended up suffering a torn ACL again in that match against Orlando. So this is another piece of their midfield gone during a stretch of games, again, where all teams in the NWSL are missing some pretty key players. And the midfield has been an area where the Dash have tried to work on some things, and going down another player just sort of maybe puts another eyeball or two on that
makes me
middle third.
I do wonder if we don't see Sanchez sit back a little bit more if she does play for them.
Yeah, curious. Yeah. So it's something to pay attention to.
I'm expecting like a 1-1 maybe. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting for at the least. I think we're have the makings of something here perhaps already with sort of who's going to be available and who's on what minutes or not. But again, Hopeful. It's a dub. Maybe it's going to be another one of those learning experience games.
Yeah, it could be,
team.
which is that it's really hard to play soccer when it's really hot outside.
Yeah, that's a tough lesson.
It is.
We've been witnessing actually in the CONCACAF Championship as well.
To put it through coach speak, we actually saw this. I mean, we talked about this with the U.S. yesterday. It's hard to keep your mental focus when it's that hot.
Oh yeah.
And so you're more prone to mental mistakes. And so I think like for the defense, for Emily Boyd, for whatever young attackers they have in front of goal, it's about just like staying in the moment, staying focused, and not letting any sort of that physical frustration get to you, because as we know in the NWSL, the other team will pounce on that if they can.
100%. That's how the league is functions and is built sometimes. But hopefully we'll be back here talking about a win. Love to talk about Red Stars wins. Wouldn't mind talking about a double-digit undefeated streak. That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty
to talk
cool.
about. So we'll see. It's something that we're going to keep an eye on. Yeah. Shout out to everyone joining us today. We appreciate you. It feels like we've gone about.
We also want to close out here. We should close out with the big announcement. That's right. So after the Houston game,
there's another big one coming up. And they have a weekend off. I think they have a little bit of a break, which is great. Hooray for Red Stars having a little bit of a break. And then the next home game is going to be at Soldier Field. Soldier Field. It's going to be a double header with the Fire, which, as I recall, they have not done since 2019. Yes, 2019. Yeah. And I cannot tell you who. Hold on, this is me. This is her checking it out. We're
hosting a tailgate.
But we're excited about this game because we're gonna have
they're playing San Diego. Component. That's right. That's gonna be fun. Yeah, San Diego Oave.
San Diego.
Yeah. With Alex Morgan, baby. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun match. Only team Chicago's lost to yet this season.
They had that very early kind of challenge. Again, talking about lessons.
Yep.
Had a very early challenging game against San Diego. This will be the second and final regular series meeting between the two sides until TBD.
That's right.
Potentially playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll see. It's going to be a fun one, man.
It is going to be a fun one, and this is exciting too because one of the things that CHGO really does try to do is do as much. We want to talk to you guys. I mean, I feel like I haven't been out to a tailgate in a million years.
Forever.
Did you guys go to the Sox tailgate?
We didn't make it to the Sox tailgate.
We did not go to the Sox tailgate.
That was a fun one. That's right. When I heard about this yesterday,
I think we were both sick. But
this is going to be a lot.
This one's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to hopefully a big group. We're going to see if we can link up with 134, hang out, turn it into a real event because this is an exciting opportunity. It's like Chicago hasn't played in the city. Is this the first time Chicago will have ever played in the city? Or they did a Soldier Field tailgate like a million years ago, I think.
I think a long
time
so
it's been a really long time since you've been able to take the train and go see a Red Stars game.
There's a little bit of time
really
in between. There's a little bit of time between now and July 30th. So
make your plans.
134, get at us. Quite frankly, like if you want a link and send my plan, like just let us know.
Yep.
Because we're very excited about it.
Yeah. Come hang.
Summertime shy.
Yeah, for real. It'll be a good time. It'll be like one of those tailgates where Sandra and I are gonna have to like be like, yeah, we gotta work.
Like keep it. We gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's it'll be good to revisit the tailgate experience
for
sure for a Red Stars game. But yeah, we're excited about it. Hopefully, we're back next week talking more about more information about the tailgate for that game and. Hopefully we're talking about a Red Stars win. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate y'all so much. When you come through and join us on the live, hit us with your questions and for all the support. If you appreciate the work that we're doing here at CHGO, we just want to let you know that the best way to support CHGO Red Stars is with a CHGO membership. Mm-hmm. You get access to the podcast. You get access to shows from that are repping every other Chicago team in the city, post-game shows. You'll get access to premium written content about the Red Stars from a girl, Claire. Mm-hmm. You get access to all sorts of merchandise, a free shirt when you sign up. That's a big one. We love the Red Stars.
I heard that our friend Daniel, the photog, he told me that he saw a couple CHGO Red Stars shirts at the game the other day.
Yeah.
So I was like,
that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Appreciate that. Look, when you get the membership, you get access to the free shirt.
That's right.
The Red Star shirt. It's just simple. And of course, you also get access to the members only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. So link up with the membership, and you'll get access to everything. And keep supporting CHGO Red Stars. And we'll be with you all next week.